Hello, everyone, and welcome to North 100, a Canadian Highlander podcast. I'm Serge. Joining me, as always, I have a Jer.
Hello.
An Alex.
안녕하세요.
And a Ben.
My clones are multiplying.
There's so many of you.
So many.
A reminder that North 100 is brought to you by you with your support over at the Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun, as well as with the new YouTube subscriptions. Thank you, regardless of how you choose to support us. All right, let's jump right in to our opening segment, the best card that you're not playing. Up to date, I have a Wheeler. Wheeler, tell me your secret spice.
I've got a 1-mana artifact card that people have been asking me to talk about since the beginning. They say, Ben, you always include this card in your decks. We want to hear about it.
Candelabra.
But Soul Ring's in every commander.
No, of course, I'm talking about Retrofitter Foundry.
Whoa, sorry, what?
So actually, I've only started playing this somewhat recently in the past month. However, there are Victoria locals that have been jamming this since the dawn of time.
What does this do? What?
Let's cover this card. So
win the game
Retrofitter
with
Foundry
infinite mana.
is a 1-mana artifact. It says pay 3, untap Retrofitter Foundry.
Okay.
It doesn't stop there though, because that would be useless. It also has pay 2, tap, create a 1/1 servo artifact token. Creature. It also has pay 1, tap, sacrifice a servo, make a 1/1 Thopter artifact creature with flying. Mm-hmm. And then it has tap, sacrifice a Thopter, make a 4/4 construct artifact creature token. So this card mostly came to my attention recently after not, kind of thinking that it was just some dumb card you'd include in your Academy rank deck.
I was gonna say, I've always wanted to spend, 4 mana and 3 turns to make a 4/4?
Well, here's the thing. You're not set to making 4/4s. You're set to making a whole bunch of 1/1s. A whole bunch. What really made this card jump out to me was the inclusion, or the printing of Urza, Lord High Artificer from Modern Horizons. That card is absolutely busted, which also just catapulted this card to being quite a ranching. So the reason why I'm high on this card now is mostly because of Urza, but I probably should have been playing this card for the past year in Academy decks. Paradox Engine deck, maybe not Eggs, but your general Academy ramp for sure should be playing this card. It's a cheap enough artifact that you can tutor up through Trinket Mage, Fabricate, a small Whir of Invention, whatever it may be. Artificer's Intuition if you're feeling feisty. It pumps out more artifacts, which is pretty good. Academy decks typically like it when you make more artifacts off of an already cheap artifact. With your namesake card in play, this card already just breaks even on mana, and then continues to just poop out a bunch of blockers that make your Academy really disgusting.
So let me think of a line here. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
But okay, you have Urza in play.
Yeah.
You cast Retrofitter Foundry.
Great.
Then you get a trigger, a Thopter comes into play, tap it for blue with Urza, then sacrifice it.
You're thinking of Sai. There's a lot of old blue men
Urza
in this deck.
Urza doesn't.
Artifacts tap for blue.
Oh, I was thinking of Sai. Right, okay.
Basically, it just says that, anything that generates more artifacts or that can put out more artifacts into play with cards like Urza being abundant, although Sai is nice too, getting more things to sacrifice or getting more Thopters to then just turn into 4/4s.
I was going to say, Sai and Thopter Sword and Saheeli, just things that let you jump the curve, and especially the first time, people are going to attack into Sai plus Thopter plus this, and you'll just sacrifice my Thopter, and they're like, but you had to sacrifice a Thopter from that, and you're like, no.
It also gives you another outlet, a cheap colorless mana sink for when you go infinite. Lord knows I have gone infinite and then done nothing with it.
Feels bad.
Nothing.
This also seems like a pretty sweet top deck. When you just flood out and you're like, I need to draw. This'll do.
It's a great thing to
This'll
play.
do.
Yeah, it's a great thing to play early. It's a nice thing to play off of a talisman as well, which Academy decks have access to more talismans than signets now.
Sure.
So you get that that free colorless mana the turn that you play it. And then sometimes in against a blue match, if you're worried about getting your big boom booms countered, you just get this before they can counter it or deal with it, and you just start pooping out dudes. And that's all you really need. Or as a defensive tool as well, this can cause a lot of problems for aggro decks.
So interesting. So outside of Academy, is this good enough as in like a ramp deck, something that just cares about generating mana, or specifically the artifact synergy and the oops and infinite mana is where you want it?
Specifically because this is an artifact that makes artifacts that also turns your artifacts into bigger artifacts. I don't want this in any deck that isn't running Tolarian Academy, or if you're on some weird artifact-based ramp deck that doesn't have an Academy, and then you should probably put an Academy in it. But yeah, this card is, in my mind, just strictly for the Academy decks.
Cool. Very cool. Well, all right, friends, let me introduce you today to our topic. Welcome to the hot seat. Now, typically, we play around a little bit, we goof, we ask each other questions, but we've never really grilled one another before. We've never really asked the tough questions that you at home have wanted to hear. So today, we're going to spend a little bit of time, and we're going to roast each other for your benefit. We're going to try and pick at the things that we've had problems with each other for a bit, and really let them have it. And I figure...
Welcome to the last episode of North 100.
I'm just gonna say the most hurtful things that come to mind.
Yeah.
And try to not tell.
Cathartic and borderline destructive.
So I figured we would start today with our good friend Alex.
Soon to be expert.
And Jer, you're quiet. You're fairly polite. Let's maybe start things off nicely with you. You got a question for Alex?
Yes, nicely.
What you got?
Yo, Alex.
Hi.
Why do you love the graveyard so much, man? It's where things go to die. Just let them die. Leave them where they're meant to be. In the trash.
Those of us who are unaware of our history are doomed to repeat it again. The graveyard is a really interesting resource. Like, I don't know where it started, but ordinarily you're absolutely correct that you just like throw things in there and they're gone. Don't even think about them. But then it's like, oh wait, this thing cares about stuff that's in there, or it being in there itself, and it's like having a second hand, or a third hand, or a fourth hand.
That's a lot of hands.
It's a lot of hands. It's more options at the fairly minor cost of being soft to graveyard hate, which is not unknown in Highlander, but it's not as much of an occupational hazard as it is in like Modern or Legacy, where like 2/3 of every sideboard is just like kill their graveyard.
Main board.
Yeah, they moved the ley lines to the main.
Well, there you go. So
old
it's just
Hogak.
like it's an eternal format where you can get away with abusing your graveyard.
Do you feel good when your opponent plays a Scavenging Ooze, though?
No, but I don't feel unfairly bullied.
Brother.
Ah, brother!
All right.
Come sup at my table.
I got a question for you, Alex.
You got?
Probably one of your absolute favorites. Is this good at aristocrats?
I'll kill you.
I think most of us embrace that question as like a lol, but to you, I can see it every time. You're just like,
It's like the eye twitches. You're just like,
Just like there's another year off Alex's life.
But it only costs 3, and you get to sacrifice a creature.
come on down to Judith's casting couch. We've got a heck of a thing for you.
my queen.
I mean, at least she gets in.
Yeah. Is this... I don't even know if I want to, like... It. Okay, so on a high level, this is actually, like, a great sort of example of... it's not just aristocrats, but, like, any... Maybe I get this the most out of anybody on this podcast, but any deck or like, play style or synergy or whatever you are known for, people will be in your mentions at any opportunity to tell you anything about it that they might get a response for.
I don't know, dude. Any card that's like vaguely oval shaped. It's just like,
Is this an egg? It's
rough.
like, that's a Cinderblock.
If a card has the word land printed on it, my mentions are just...
Serge, have you seen this card? Basic Forest.
Yeah.
But do you think that... I think it's actually pretty interesting about like an interesting like touch on card evaluation though, where the what people have in mind when they think of aristocrats is so varied because it's such it's a quick, easy name, but then you have like minimum 5 different ways to build this deck and have it be totally reasonable, like tournament, able to take down an event.
Well, that's one of the things that always strikes me when people ask these questions is they never post context with it. They're just like, does it go into aristocrats? And
Which
there's
one?
there's like legitimately 5 different tournament viable builds you can have. If they were like, does this go into this specific build? And then they'd get the responses thereafter.
I think there's a couple of different reasons. Like this is maybe getting into analysis of like social media interactions. I think some of them have an earnest curiosity about like whether this card works. Excuse me. Some of them are just like trying to show you a cool thing and just have you be like, yeah, that's cool. They're like, oh, they noticed me. Which is like fine.
Stop helping Alex, roasting him.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Is I wanted to clarify that we're roasting each other, and this isn't intended to roast the audience or people that come to us with these cards, because it's genuinely like this cascading web of like the different types of aristocrats, the different subtypes and ways to build all these aristocrats decks, and then like card evaluation in general for like once you narrow it down to what exactly you want, you know, is it good? Does it go in aristocrats?
All right, Wheeler, what do you got for Alex?
All right. What you got against blue? Like, have you not heard the beautiful word of our Lord and Savior, Basic Island?
Do you hate winning?
Okay. I was just gonna be like, oh, because you play it, but it's like, okay.
I play the most basic islands.
I went through quite a curve on blue, because I think early on in my Magic career, like everybody, I was just like, oh, blue's stupid and busted. They counter everything, and it's dumb and awful and shit, and I hate it.
Yes,
and
everyone did that.
Okay, not everyone.
I have vivid memories of discarding a deep analysis and going, oh, this is just dreadful. Circular logic? What an awful card.
But you've encountered people that like, it's a common attitude.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
People hate having their stuff countered worse than having it destroyed.
Do you hate having your stuff countered?
It doesn't feel good, but that brings me to the next part of my my journey, where it's just like I tried playing some of these decks. You know, you get a little bit more of a sensation of how they work, how they don't work, how they're not invincible, how they don't always have it. And I think I gained an appreciation for blue and how it functions and how it's like kind of... Blue's a really weird color because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, and you probably will. Blue, on its own, with nothing else, is not very good. But it's the best enhancing color in the game. You know what I mean?
I almost think black is. But
you know what I'm getting at, right? Where it's just like...
Well, in Highlander.
Yeah, you combine blue with any other color, or like even just like artifacts, and it suddenly becomes like the winningest, color.
I get what you're saying, but I think not to blue spleen for you, but
please, Dad.
It's the blue cards aren't winning the game. So, like,
I think that's...
I mean, if you're killing them with a Snapcaster or V-Click, sure. But, like, if you think about...
But I think that's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah, they're not winning the game, but you're winning the game. Like, if you play Blue Moon, you're very rarely... You talk to someone, you're like, so how'd that match against Blue Moon go? And they go, oh, they scredded my first creature, and then they played a Magus of the Moon into a Glory Bringer, and then I dealt with it, but they had a Flame Tongue Kavu. red. No, it's recall twice, counterspell, dealing clique.
Didn't matter.
Maybe it's just that it facilitates all the other strategies so much better.
And that's why you hate it?
I never said I did. I'm getting to that. I don't actually hate blue. I just don't play it very much. I think that the way I'm wired as far as like games that I play and games that I enjoy, it just like I never really took to it. I think I just like slamming a bunch of creatures, turning them sideways, or like having weird little synergies and interactions, but like I never grokked completely. Like I'm really bad at bluffing, like just atrocious. So, pretending that you have it just never was a strategy.
Well, you keep whenever we play and you're on blue, you keep going into a soliloquy, and I can hear you. Like if you're just like, and I pass with mana drain up, then none the wiser. For when he casts his 4-drop, I will be the true miser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like can't keep a poker face. I think it's a perfectly sensible color, and a very essential and important part of the game. So I went from like disrespect to respect. So I don't actually hate blue.
Well, then let's turn our blue hate over to the next person in the hot seat, our boy Jer over here, and I'll ask the question that most people want to ask the blue player: how boring is it to just sit there and do nothing as the control deck?
like playing Drago, or just playing control in general?
Yes.
Well. Playing Drago is fantastic because it means your opponent's doing nothing, and their deck is like certainly not set up as well to do nothing as your deck is. So you're just winning at that point. It feels fantastic.
But you're doing nothing.
But no, you're winning. I just said that.
Is stymieing nothing?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like Null Rod.
Yeah.
Please don't mention that card.
I really enjoy those types of games where like either it's blue versus blue and both blue decks are doing nothing and it's just whoever draws the most blue cards probably wins. But some of them get really intricate as to like who makes the first move, and it's really difficult to make the first move and win. And those games often get really interesting. Playing control in general, I really enjoy. It was the first deck I built in Highlander was blue-white control. The first deck I built when I like first not casually started playing, but the first deck I took to like standard F&M at YJ was like Sun Titan blue-white control.
Nice. And
I kept dying to my friend's aggro deck, so I had like elite vanguards in my control deck. I'm like, it's a 2-1 for when it blocks. Like I wasn't attacking ever. I just wanted it to block.
Oh, good heavens.
That's
Condemn had rotated. I needed a condemn, and Elite Vanguard was the best we had.
This is completely unrelated, but I think I have an idea for a new episode where we talk about like our earliest includes and plays.
Oh god.
Yeah, but that style of play in general just really suited me. I came from a chess poker like very strategically oriented background, and that was the closest to that I could find in Magic.
The real battlefield is in the mind.
But now I play everything. Like control is still
except Big
still
White.
Great. Yeah. Well, sadly, I have played Big White.
Oh.
Just never. Well, like that's.
And
the
now
reason
people are gonna.
I nearly quit Magic. And
torment
that's the
you about it relentlessly.
Well, that's where the story comes from. Like I wouldn't have the hatred I have for it
if you hadn't tried.
If I hadn't played it.
All right, Alex, you got a question for Jer?
I do. You have a sizable collection, a lot of cards.
Several.
I have seen
several thousand.
In what manner you maintain those cards, and what the hell, man. The last time I saw your collection, there was a dining table that had like
Which dining table was this? Magic Mansion or the Stroop?
I think it was Magic Mansion.
All right, yeah,
But
that
it
one
was
bad.
you had like Scrooge McDuck coin card towers, like a city,
It was a table like
haphazardly like just
Yeah.
everywhere, and I was just
you
like,
could mostly see the size of this table. It was twice the size of this table.
yeah,
It was
and you'd built
literally covered.
You'd built a civilization out of sleeve magic cards,
Yeah.
and a bunch of them were just sort of like strewn everywhere, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's $800 there, and that's an alpha.
Power.
Whatever. It's like there's some power. Okay, I'm gonna lie down.
Yeah, and it was great because I knew where every card was in all the piles.
So
Although
mad.
No way.
Liam knew the piles better than I did. That's how often we hung out and
You know what the irony of this is? I'm a really messy, disorganized person, except with my Magic collection, which is paradoxically like all in one box,
Mood.
sorted like by color. There's a few like stray boxes, but it's mainly all in one place.
all right. So from
This
that point
chaos
you saw
around
it, I went to a slightly smaller table plus some boxes. And now I have all color sorted boxes in a cabinet.
Oh.
And they're like colored boxes. So like I grabbed the blue box. It has all the blue cards, except there's 3 blue boxes. and
Downsizing and
one of
sorting your
each other
collection
color.
feels really good.
Sometimes
But
you
then
gotta
what if
Marie
you need it?
Kondo.
What if you need the thing you got rid of?
Okay, but the thing that I did with my collection that felt the best was printing off like guild dividers
Oh.
to sort my multicolored.
Yeah, I do that.
Oh, it was really useful because I used to have like multi as one column and I could never find anything.
Yeah, I've got it by guild, and then I've got 3+ colors in just another area.
This is all so. I've been very calm over this, but I am erupting inside.
What's up?
So my collection
Yeah.
is segmented into 3 different boxes, each with their own label of staple, playable, other, and then organized
playable.
in card types. Mana cost, alphabetical, with old border first, then new border. So, for instance,
Every colors together?
yeah. So, like, if you look at my sorcery section,
So you need
you'll-
to know which printing of each card you have.
Oh, well, always the original print. But
Always?
it's always.
Come on.
Always.
I do have but I will have multiples. So like I
So-
will pair them together.
Which brainstorms do you use, Ben?
I use German. Well, okay. There's. I do have an Ice Age.
Lawyer.
I do have a German Ice Age brainstorm in there, but I just never use it. I have like 5 Wood Elves. I only ever
Which
play with one.
original print do you use?
So Portal came out right before the Exodus printing. So there's
All
the
right.
Portal
But
one.
there's 2 Exodus printings, isn't there?
No, there's only one Exodus printing. There's Portal, Starter 99,
they're both-
Exodus.
They're both Rebecca, though, right?
I don't believe the Exodus one is.
I think it is.
Could be. I also have
we
8th.
get
I have
Show Me
8th
Exodus?
edition. Oh, it is. Okay.
Whoa.
I have 8. Well, this isn't the one that I use. The one that I use is the when I played Type 2 in the day in Tooth and Nail. I had foil Wood Elves. Can we pull up 8th edition Wood Elves, please?
Oh no.
This is that art is just so good. It is. I
yeah,
love.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in you, Wheeler, because I've adopted a philosophy that you taught me, which was if you're not playing it, why do you own it?
So
And I've purged so many cards that you're like, you have an entire box of unplayables.
no. They're They're not unplayable. They're other. They're commander.
role players?
They're for
Alright.
commander, basically.
Oh.
Without, I don't want to look. I tried to avoid calling it that, but you hold my feet to the fire, and here we go. It's the commander section. You happy? It's filled with 8 drops and big stupid sorceries that make everybody else draw cards.
All right, roast Jer, what's your question?
Speaking of big dumb 8 drops, we've known each other for a long time, about a decade now, and
Yep.
there's a recurring trend that, at least in my mind, is that you include a lot of big, stupid 5 drops in certain mid-range decks. What do you say to this?
Well, by a lot, he means like 5 when he would play 1.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
keeping in mind, I also on average play like, 2 times as many lands in my decks as,
we'll
as
get to
Ben
that.
does. But, yeah, I tend to play more 5-drops. Just because I think Ben and I play differently. Ben is better at playing on low resource games than me. Like when we played a lot of Delver Mirrors, and Ben usually beat me in Delver Mirrors because he was better at playing low resource games. We had a really classic.
One of my favorite matches of Magic of all time.
Ben and I have had some all-time great matches, and this. All right, aside, we're tangenting. Ben and I were playing a Delver Mirror. Was it for fun or was it in a tournament?
I think it was at a weekly.
I think
I'm pretty sure it was at a weekly.
All right, so we're playing a Delver Mirror. It's game 1. It's going super, super long. And then eventually we get to the point where both of us have graveyards like a mile high. We both have like 20 cards left in our deck. Maybe 1 actual land left in our deck.
Yeah.
We both have 7 cards in hand and literal 0 permanents.
It was great.
Powerful Magic.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, I'm on the play. I forgot the right 5-drops. Yeah, so Ben's better at playing lower resource games, so I think he builds his decks like fewer lands, general lower curve to suit his play style of playing lower resource games. And I like to play longer, like I plan super far ahead. I want to have the haymaker to finish the game. I really like letting my opponent get ahead, then making like a counter play to like counter their strategy, and I build my decks to suit my play style in general.
You have a narrative to your games? That's cool.
Yeah, dude. Well, like it's from my like chess background too.
You just
like,
let them overextend.
I always
You're just like punished.
like I never play aggressive strategies in chess. I always play.
You don't just sit down to a match and have like a little voice in your head talk about it? Like storm, 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 storm.
I sit
Da-da-da-da-da.
down. I'm like, haha, I just have to draw a fast opponent.
We'll
Then the game is mine.
We'll just get a close up on each person. It's just like ooga chugga, ooga ooga, dancing like zombie or something.
It's the tendrils guy just dancing around like this.
It's just like I'm gonna dome you.
All right. Now I can't create a situation where everybody roasts each other and I somehow escape unscathed.
Oops.
So come on.
The comments are going to be all, stop picking on Serge.
Don't bully Serge, and I'll just be like, kill more villagers.
All right.
I don't understand the reference.
I'm taking over the order because Serge can't choose his own order. It's conveniently the order we're sitting. We gotta save Ben for last.
Yeah, all right.
I'll go first. Alex, you're up second. So Serge is known to play a bunch of different archetypes. He plays battle bots, enchantress, lands, various stacks type prison things. And across a few of those archetypes, Serge tends to play some non-bows in his deck. One of the classics is Rest in Peace with Replenish. I've certainly seen him draw Replenish.
Sure.
Like the turn after casting Rest in Peace, then looking at his now exiled pile and like counting like 7 enchantments that he could have brought back, and now his 4-drop that does nothing.
Just for the benefit of anybody who's never heard the term, what's a non-bow?
So a non-bow is 2 cards that like aren't not synergistic. They actively just like hose each other, and you put those 2 cards in your.
So the opposite
in your
of a
deck.
combo.
Yeah, it's like instead of winning the game, you now just have 2 blank pieces of cardboard,
Now I'll let you know though
or maybe 1 blank piece of cardboard.
that Rest in Peace is a very good card. So Rest in Peace is a 2-mana enchantment. And it just says when it comes into play, exile all cards from all graveyards. If a card we put there anyways, exile it instead. This is a good card. This is an important card to have an Enchantress Shell.
Yep.
It works as a protection thing with what's that blue
Energy
one?
Field.
With Energy Field. Energy Field is a 2-mana enchantment. Notice the enchantment theme here.
I'm not saying you're not playing enchantment.
That says prevent all damage that would be dealt to you, but if a card is put into your graveyard, sacrifice Energy Field, I can't put it into my graveyard graveyard if there's no graveyard.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have Rest in Peace in your deck. I'm just saying
yeah.
Rest in Peace plus Replenish is not powerful magic.
Pick a lane.
And Replenish, 4-mana sorcery says return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to play. I don't see what the problem here is. They all say
that's it. That's enough defending yourself. We're here to roast you.
Yeah, but seriously though, when you talk about this though, sometimes if cards are powerful enough in your deck, it is okay to run them. And in the very narrow window where your pieces don't line up perfectly, and nobody at this table can say they've never played cards that don't hose each other. You just live with the bad beats to really celebrate the glory when it comes together.
Hard agree, but I mean, there's a difference between Ensnaring Bridge plus Time Spiral being the kind of an oopsie doopsie, and like Rest in Peace energy field.
Yeah, okay.
You see where we're going? Do you not run into issues because of the there are some decks that can ignore both of these cards. Do you not run into, I guess you can turn them into cantrips, but aside from that,
I got one. Tarmogoyf, Scavenging Ooze. You play those together.
Not buying it.
Boom, got him.
Great.
They hate each other.
I mean,
no. I'm with you guys.
Oh.
It's not the same thing. They still do stuff, even if you have both of them on the table.
Yeah.
It's not like they both turn into 0/0s.
You're going to probably play Deathrite in your Abzan Life from the Loam deck, even though you might have to eat your own lands.
Well, you have 2 graveyards to eat from.
Yeah.
Just putting that in there.
Another classic Serge non-bow is Serge. As much as Serge complains about Blood Moon, Serge is a known Blood Mooner himself. And although Serge also likes powerful lands, so in a lot of Serge's prison decks that include red, which will almost always include Blood Moon regardless of how many colors, and there's a famous story from previous episodes that you may or may not be aware of, but Serge often shuts off his own powerful lands, such as Tabernacle, Bazaar of Baghdad, Maze of Ith.
Well, finally, they can add mana.
Yeah. Red
Wasteland,
man.
Strip Mine,
That's
etc.
So
No.
You are lying. You are lying.
So the nice thing is, both cards have their own place, and sometimes you have to evaluate which card is giving you more value. If you're against a multicolored deck, Maze of Ith may take out one of their creatures, but Blood Moon will hose all of their lands and ramp you.
Okay.
Have you ever used Blood Moon to fix your own mana?
It doesn't.
Just chef kiss.
Serge?
Yes.
You're correct in that you need to assess the value of these cards, but do you know when you do that? During deck building.
All right, I'm feeling pretty roasted here. Next question.
Boom roasted.
Well, I mean, talking of prison decks leads me into mine. You are a very pleasant human.
No, I thank you.
Yes, you're very nice and you get along. So what's a guy like you doing playing stacks?
I have been told I'm the nicest person who'll ever strip mine lock you.
Yeah.
So I think this comes down to the way I play Magic.
Cruelty.
No, I think it's the opposite of that. No.
I stacks you because I love you.
It's a game, and despite
both people.
let me finish.
I have to hear this.
And what happens when you're playing a game with somebody? You're not inflicting harm on them. It's not personal.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at Wheeler when I strip mine all of his lands and say, "Take that, you bag of dung."
I'm not a good example because you do that to me every single time.
You literally said on the podcast at least 10 times, I built this deck just to beat Wheeler.
We've had matches where you're like, "This is where you die, Wheeler. Finally, I'll get you," and you just strip lock me out, and we'll finish it post match, and I'll be like, "Oh man, that was pretty good. Maybe I should have and I'll just be like, maybe I should have fetched differently or something," and you'll be like, "You had it coming." It's just
I also enjoy that, in his own defense, Serge has posited that he doesn't consider you a human being when he's playing you.
All right.
Accurate,
Well,
accurate.
Wheeler and his infinite army of clones aside,
demon clones.
Demon
Let's
clones
be
aside,
particular here.
but that's the thing. I don't think of this as hurting somebody. I don't think of this as it's a game. We're sitting down to have fun.
That's how you can massacre those villagers.
Yeah, but I honestly,
I'm not even kidding. That's the exact same thing. You have sufficient disassociation from the game that you can do things that someone with more of a
Like people who anthropomorphize things.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
almost want to say
Yeah.
like metatextual connection would find abhorrent.
It's actually a pretty admirable way to look at it, and I think it's something that there's no way that I can match your level of in-game cruelty with like the stacks decks or prison decks or whatever that I enjoy playing, or the combo misery that I throw onto other people. But I do think that you have to create that separation, and it also just helps that I don't think you can be an asshole and play stacks, you know? Because some people, while you can create that separation, not everybody
in
can.
Highlander.
In Highlander. Not everybody can. And, like, it's not necessarily your responsibility to make sure that they get a grasp on that it's just a game. That should be representative from the beginning. But, like, making it... I mean, having as much fun as you can in a match where, like, if you're getting strip locked and you're like, oh, like it does make it a bit more, I don't know, for me, it makes it a bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I think you might be onto something because, like, I really don't like games where I'm just doing a baseline play that is winning the game and my opponent is tilting at it. You know,
sportsmanlike is so important.
Oh, I can't handle that. And I was like, please.
And that's the thing. When you attack somebody with a creature, you're not trying to hurt your opponent. When you bolt to the dome, you're not trying to hurt your opponent.
Again,
right?
you've attacked me with Ramanap
It's personal
Excavator
between
to
the
only
two.
slap me after.
We have beef. We have
Take
beef.
two.
When I reach across the table and I hit you in the face, you know it comes from a place of deep hate.
That's why you're laughing after.
Yeah. But no.
Spit on your grave.
I'm going to salt the earth.
All right. And now we've come down to it. Ben, I believe you have something to ask Serge.
Mishra's Workshop is a very powerful card. We both have years of experience with this card, playing out incredibly powerful threats, be them Staxy cards like a turn 1 Trinisphere, or something more aggressive, where in my case, that could be something like a Foundry Inspector or
Ram Roller.
a Ram Roller. But I tend to stick to those cards. Aggressive, powerful threats. You have Hovermere. I want to settle this right here, right now.
Oh, man.
Why? Why Hovermere?
Why everybody got to hate on my Hovermere? All right, for those
Can I
of
tell you why?
For those of you who don't know the glory that is the Hovermere. 2-mana artifact creature type mirror, 1/2 flying and vigilance. Look how much text there is on that card. That's 2 keywords.
That's flavor text afterwards, by the way. You can't count that.
I honestly believe this card is a great role player. In a deck that is lacking 2-drops, in a deck that wants to be aggressive and dump its hand as quickly as possible, the number of cards that you can actually cast off of Workshop at 2 is really limited.
But isn't that fine when your Workshop adds 3, or say, like, the impact of playing a relevant 3 on turn 2 by, like, Soul Land plus generic mana source?
Or land
like,
plus Mox.
Land plus Mox. Like, my thought is that, yes, I agree. The 2s we have, garbage. I hate it. It's why I was
Except
so...
for Steel Overseer and Arcbound Ravager.
Yeah, there are some, like, dynamite 2s. But, like, that's why when stuff when Lesser Masticore came out,
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
right?
a relevant 2.
Yeah.
But, like, isn't it just better to go to 3? You don't see, like, the benefit of just going up just a bit.
The issue with that is oftentimes it's a 100-card singleton. You're not always going to get those explosive starts, and there are some disciplined role players you have to put in your deck.
Ben doesn't understand.
Sometimes
you not have workshops.
Sometimes Hovermere is just cast on turn 2 with 2 lands. And if your hand is all 3 drops, and sometimes it is, when you play Workshop, you can fall in a trap of trying to put nothing. You just imagine a world in which every game you start with 7 cards, all 3 drops in Workshop in hand, and you're just laughing. You're just like, I get to play a 3-drop every turn.
Oh, I don't have to imagine.
Yeah. But
Surely something better, though.
no.
I don't believe
The issue is there's a lot of really good 2-drops, but they don't cast for 2 generic. And even if they do, you play your Arcbound Ravager, you play your Steel Overseer, and then there's nothing.
What?
Serge,
What?
what about equipment?
So equipment is great too, and there's a lot of good equipment at 2, but equipment only works if you have a creature to carry it.
I mean, I'm trying to help you.
Oh yeah. So the other thing that's great is how well it carries equipment, is what we're talking about there. And you know a great 3-drop you can cast off Workshop? Any of the swords.
Serge, you've activated my trap card because I knew you would bring this up. Here's the thing.
I brought it up.
All right. Well, Jer helped tag team throw you into the ring here. The thing about equipment is that, yeah, it makes your creatures good because it's equipment. That's the whole point of the cards. I don't think that you hear these pieces about all these token generators carrying equipment in our format, like things that make tokens are great because they're small disposable things that you can later then make better with equipment or other cards. And so I think the same thing can just be said about any generic workshop threat. Like, that's the strength of the deck, is that all of your cards don't really care about mana that much, which means that you can play a bunch of equipment and not have to feel like you're going to get your hand clunked up with all these equipment. And all your equipment is going to make any creature you play relevant. And I don't think having a Hovermere, making a Hovermere more relevant with a sword is that different from making literally anything more relevant with a sword.
I see. The tricky thing on that is what are you putting on a sword then? Because if you go in the direction where all of your creatures are better, it devalues equipment. Because then your creatures are just good enough that they don't need a sword. Are you playing even dumber, smaller creatures?
Wait, but isn't that fine? Isn't that a good? That's a good problem to have.
Yes, there aren't enough good creatures that cost off Workshop though. I'm playing Juggernaut. I'm playing the
you're playing
Juggernaut.
a great creature. Go on.
Hey, Serge.
Hi, Alex.
Do you play Scrap Heap Scrounger?
Yes.
Oh, well. And you, I'm going to find something here.
Spellskite. Oh,
Yeah,
I've
face-
seen.
Oh,
these
I play
ones.
Spellskite's great. You
Spellskite's
attack with
great.
Spellskite,
Yep.
and they try and Maze of It. You're like,
yeah.
idiot.
Phyrexian Revoker.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Mirror Retriever? That's maybe not the best.
Okay, I do want to ask one thing.
I'm gonna find
So
something.
we're not hard roasting on Hovermere for an eternity.
Ah, yes, Mirror Retriever, the 2-mana 1/1.
Hey,
With no abilities.
With no abilities.
What?
How? Yeah.
that reads go infinite.
Combat ability. Like, we're talking in
Yeah,
like,
you just turn it sideways,
aggro
they
decks.
block, you just get back what other thing you
So
threw.
Hovermere and equipment, it has evasion.
What?
It carries the sword
But swords
so well.
give it evasion.
Not always.
Watchers of the Dead.
No, okay, well that's just a...
You're gonna have
I
to-
guit's a cat. But
What is
It's a cat.
Watchers
it's
of
a
the Dead?
2/2.
Not
It
good.
it
So,
mines out their graveyard
what-
a little bit.
What would it take for you to stop playing Hovermere? What printings? How many more 2-drops
A
do we
2/2 flyer for 2.
Okay, well that's just busted.
I
Like, how many more 2s do we need? Or
Are
good
you
or
playing
good ones?
Spined Thopter?
yes. I also play Spined Thopter,
Mm-hmm.
which is a 3-mana 2/1 with
It's 2
flying.
mana, Serge. Let's.
But it has
Get
Phyrexian
real
Man
here.
on it. So that's the difference. It's a 2/1. I already played this one too. It's a 2/1 that taps when it attacks, and trades unfavorably.
I like that you say taps when it attacks, as it's like this
brain
big...
Vigilance,
hurts.
honestly,
No, I don't.
Vigilance in an aggressive deck is very relevant.
What about this, Serge?
Okay.
Instead of playing Hovermere, you play literally any 2-drop spell.
I actually don't. All right. I don't think Hovermere is a good card. I'm going to start there. But I don't think it's the literal worst in that exact deck where you're going ham on equipment. You have Bone Splitter and Grafted War Gear and Skull Clamp and a bunch of swords.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a bad threat. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean you have to put yourself through this. And you can instead go to good.
The other tricky thing is spells don't cast off Workshop. So there's a certain density of things you need to put into a deck to get maximum advantage out of it. When you're playing something like Workshop, if you're not all in, you dilute the possibility of a God Hand. And that is where you're like, if I rip 6 artifacts and a Workshop, that's a keep. If I rip 4 artifact, a Workshop, and 2 colored spells, you're like, well, now I basically have a 5-card hand. I have to hope to draw into something, and it doesn't work for anything else. It's basically there's no land that casts that. Alex.
Shrine of Loyal Legions.
That's not a creature.
Yeah, it is.
It's also not good.
Takes a hot minute.
All right, so you've helped prove my point. Well, I've been sufficiently roasted. Oh, you know what's actually a great card in this? What is the 2-mana artifact that turns into a bird and activates for white?
Glinthawk Idol?
Glinthawk Idol.
Okay.
Yeah, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That card's rad. Oh, it's so good against control as well. All right, Wheeler, it's your turn. My heart hurts.
Let's kill him.
Yeah, Jer, give Wheeler some of his own medicine.
All right, Ben. So you're famous for playing medium decks. My question is, why don't you just play good decks instead?
So, the reason the medium decks are so appealing is for a couple of reasons. One, they are blisteringly fast, and I like that in my Magic. I like to finish my match within... I mean, I also like the grindy 10-minute past time games. I love those too, but that's more for 60-card formats. But for this, they are just so fast that you can often just overwhelm people. I really enjoy that. I like capitalizing on people not being properly prepared. And how do you prepare? And it offers creatures that can punish people not being prepared even when you play them on curve. But then it also has these scenarios where no amount of preparation is really going to help you versus like a turn 2 Thundermaw Hellkite or like a turn 2 Reality Smasher or a Goblin Rabblemaster on 1 or 2 or whatever it may be. And I also just think fast mana is kind of busted. Spoiler alert. Mana Crypt and Soul Ring, pretty good.
Oh, weird.
And I'm actually less on medium red now and more on medium green, which I'm convinced is it's pretty close to the best medium deck, I think. But it's just, it also allows for a bunch, for a further exploration into cards that don't get a lot of exposure, and thus people aren't, again, prepared for them. Like, I've talked about how I've died to Colonian Hydra before.
Because you don't expect it.
Because you're just like, oh, look at this donkey of a card.
Oh,
and then all of a
that's
sudden,
huge.
it's massive and it's just killing people dead. Or new cards that pop out, like Voracious Hydra from Core 2020. That card has blown me away for how good it is.
Which one is that?
So it's X green Hydra with Trample. It enters the battlefield with X counters, and it's a 0/1 base. So it enters with X counters, and when it ETBs, you choose one of these effects. You either double the amount of counters that you put on it, or it fights a creature you don't control. So again, with fast mana, you can either poop out a 8/9 Trample, which is pretty scary, or you can have it fight pesky flying threats or utility creatures that green can struggle with. So I enjoy the medium decks because they just it's just this like burst of speed and power that people aren't prepared for at the cost of some consistency.
All right, let's talk about consistency. There's a very...
And we all know where this is going.
Yeah, so there's common wisdom in Magic as to how many lands a certain deck should play. But
Yeah, 24.
our boy Wheeler here
Yeah, 24
seems
lands.
to think he's smarter than every other deck builder out there, and will consistently try and cut as many lands as possible.
He's smarter than the average player.
So, are you greedy, or what's going on, No Land Wheeler?
So, I do have greedy tendencies. I'd be lying if I didn't say that. But I do I stand by this for a lot of them. There are decks where I will play an appropriate amount of lands. Like Jeskai, like control decks, the Jacuzzi on Commission Yawgmoth's deck that I've been playing. It's a fast bond Gravestorm Tendrils get Rog Monster combo deck. You'd like it. But like that, I've been playing that deck, and people are like, "So what are you on, like 30 lands?" I'm like, "No, I'm on 38," and they're all just, "Huh?" So I do stand by my selection for these decks, be it the Mono Red deck with 23 lands, Flying Men with 24 lands. I played a Mono White Blitz list recently. I think I talked about it last episode with 24 land plus Lotus plus Pearl. And like, you just don't need them. Like, how bad is drawing a land? If you're an aggro deck, like, so many matches as an aggro deck are lost by drawing a land beyond what you need. And like any subsequent land beyond that, like once you hit your cap, your mana cap of like 3 sources, 2 sources even depending on the deck, every land you draw is going to decrease your chance of winning this game by quite a lot. And any land beyond that too, it keeps going and going and just makes it worse. And like if you're on a red deck and you get up to like 5 lands, you're probably losing that game. Or like a white deck.
You know what else loses the game?
Not having lands?
Yeah, like one land, never draw one ever again.
So, how do you cast your
Or
spells?
how about this one? Mulliganing.
So, admittedly, when we got rid of the Sorensen Mulligan, RIP, I started adding more lands to some of these decks, but that wasn't the case for every single one. So something like Flying Men, which is one of the more notorious 24 land decks, I also play about 19 1-mana cantrips, which is kind of like old Xerox style, replace your cards with lands, and you will get 2 lands. Like, watch any gameplay of me playing Flying Men. You're more likely to see me flood than get choked on lands, because you're playing so many cantrips, games go longer because your clock isn't exactly lightning speed.
So you're saying play even less lands.
So
well, what I'm saying is
20?
that I'm saying it's all contextual, and that it's something that people don't explore because they are too focused on like traditional wisdom of this is how many decks you should have, because like
lands.
It's as much as like a numbers game, it is like you can't always calculate like what your cantrips are going to add you, or just like how many lands you actually need to get there, or taking a risk, right?
So it's
like
not
also,
greed, it's courage.
No, it's a little bit of both. But,
Okay.
but yeah, I think I'm doing it genuinely. It's not a meme. I think it's, for certain decks, it's the correct decision.
All right.
Alex, what you got for him?
How does a guy who plays Garbage Plate hate Time Vault so much?
Is that combo not good enough for you? You play all the other ones.
I'm going to try and explain this without coming off like an asshole. And I apologize if I do, because I don't want my explanation to be hypocritical with my generalized statement of never make someone feel bad for their deck decision or what they're playing. Like, don't poo-poo someone because they want to play combo or some hateful prison deck, unless it's Surge. And I hate Time Vault, mostly because to me there's not a lot going on. The ease of a deck should not actually be an issue. If anything, a deck being easier to pilot is a beneficial thing. It's good. You want your busted combo deck to be easy to pilot. That way you can rely very much on the strength of the deck and the cards that you have, instead of the micro decisions that you have that you need for stuff like eggs or garbage platter. Garbage platter is definitely a lot more, easier to pilot than something like eggs. But like to me, Time Vault is soulless, which doesn't have any impact on your competitive decision. And I recognize that as somebody that has played Magic in a competitive environment. But to me, one of my faults as a player is that if I'm not invested in what I'm playing, I'm going to do worse. I'm not going to spend as much time on it. I'm not going to put as much effort into learning different lines. I'm not going to goldfish. And like, you don't need to do that as much with something like Time Vault, but practicing with those decks is still going to be beneficial to you. So to me, there's no real investment for this kind of card. It's boring, I hate it, and it's potentially too good. And so I just can't get enthused. There's nothing for me. And I don't feel like I have a lot of opportunities to like flex my knowledge of my archetype with the Time Vault decks.
So you crave complexity in your games. You feel that if you're going to dome somebody out, you at least have to do the dance.
Well, I think the complexity drives me to get invested for it. Yeah. It's just like if I don't have a reason to be passionate about what I'm doing, then why am I doing it? Right? And so maybe that's why I got so upset with Collector Oof and whatnot. But yeah, to me, it's definitely a crutch, but it's also like because of my personal investment in stuff like eggs, I feel like I'm able to win matches that I probably wouldn't be able to do with other decks where I'm just like, oh, yeah, I'll pester, mate. Splinter Twin on this, and I guess I'll kill you.
But there was a time when you played Time Vault.
Yeah, I played Vault, but also, like, most of my Vault play was also in a deck with Maelstrom Wanderer.
Yeah, it was the Cascade deck.
Tough
like-
but fair.
Also,
Yeah.
what better way to understand your distaste for something than to, really...
Oh, this is
get
before
into
he
it?
hated Vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is that, like, you can develop...
I can pinpoint when I started hating Vault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's that?
I know the very specific. It was a match against Allison. It was game 3. I believe this was winning in for the finals or for winning the entire event. I'm playing a Grixis Vault deck. I'm in a commanding position. I have a Zealous Conscripts in play. And I cast a Vampiric Tutor. And she's tapped out. She's got nothing. She has a creature. She has some creatures, and I don't know why. I could get Splinter Twin, and I can kill her right there, right then, I believe win the event. My dumbass gets Toxic Deluge. And I haven't let it go.
And that's why you hate Vault?
Well, I was playing a Vault deck. To me, I don't know why. It's just because I was playing this deck that was so just A plus B boring. I messed up, and I'm just like, because I overthought it. Like, I should have just been like, oh, I think, what do I have? What do I get?
So, you hate Time Vault
Yeah.
because you misplayed one time.
I misplayed. Yes. It started off a cascading series of events where I'm just like,
No further
'cause I
questions,
didn't
Your
care.
Honor.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care. I was like, all right, well, what am I doing here?
All right, friends. Well, I think with that, we're going to end the roasting. We'll see if we come back to another episode next week, if our friendship can survive putting each other in the hot seats. Let's move to our closing segment, Powerful Magic. And up today is me. And I'm gonna bring us back to an old story. This is probably like 7 or 8 years ago, and I was gonna tell this story even before the tales of today, but I think it's extra appropriate. I was playing Wheeler, and I was playing Enchantress. And this was back in the earlier days when I wasn't as familiar with the archetype. I wasn't all that familiar with Magic. I played a lot of Enchantress early on in my Highlander career. I really liked it. And this is before I think a lot of people really started diving into it too. So I was making a lot of mistakes, figuring out a lot of stuff. And so the game started off the way a lot of Magic games do. I had a Leyline of the Void in play in my opening hand, and so it kind of started off there. And then I started doing what Enchantress does best. I forgot about winning, and I did my absolute best to not die. So, you know, you're trying to gain life, you're playing cantrips, you're playing tax effects, you're playing propaganda, you're doing all this stuff. And I drew an Enlightened Tutor. And I remember going to Ben, I don't even remember what Ben is on and stuff like that. End step, I cast Enlightened Tutor. And I just remember Ben's face going like, oh no. You know, Ben didn't much on the poker face there, and just kind of slumps down and does all this stuff. And Ben is familiar with my list and has a couple of cards that he knows we're going for. And instead of going for the card Ben thought I was going to go for, I went and grabbed like Moat or something, and I put it on top, and I was like, yeah, I got you. And I look over expecting to see the terror in Ben's eye, the confirmation that I got the card that he was afraid of. And he just looks at me like I'm an idiot. I'm just like,
is this a game to you?
You know, I'm like, well, that's weird. You know, I cast Moat. And he's just like, okay. I'm like, what? So I lose that game. And I'm just like, what was I supposed to tutor for there? And he's like, aren't you playing Helm of Obedience?
Oh yeah.
Which is a 4-mana artifact, and we talked about this in previous episodes. It's a combo if you have a card that exiles your opponent's graveyard. But because Leyline was in my opening hand, I had just forgotten that it was in play. And then so Wheeler almost poker faced himself into losing the game by assuming his opponent, me, would actually play the line that went towards winning as opposed to just throwing the card away.
You toxic deluge to yourself.
You big dummy.
And I never played Enchantress again. Wait, what? No, I still love Enchantress.
Right.
Well, friends, that's going to be our episode today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Want to let people know that Magic Fest Vegas is just around the corner, and there's going to be a whole bunch of us there. So hopefully we'll see you down and get an opportunity to play a bunch of Magic together. Of the four of us here, myself and Wheeler will be there, but as well as a bunch of other wonderful humans from Loading Ready Run. Oh, they're going to add something. Also, just around the corner is PAX West. So if you're in the Seattle area, definitely come and say hi, because so many of us are going to be there. Want to remind you that North 100 is brought to you with support over at the Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. We've also recently turned on YouTube subscriptions. Thank you however you choose to support us, and we will see you next time. See you later.